back once again to Agenda Awani. Still with me, Cherish Lau. So in this final segment, first question I would like to ask is, personally, what is fundamental for a startup founder to understand before approaching for venture fund?
I think the first thing they do need to know is do a bit more research on the venture fund that they're approaching. So you need to know who the partners are. You need to know what kind of deals they do, what kind of stage of companies they invest in, and whether or not your business fits in their investment criteria. So this is something that a lot of entrepreneurs don't do. Maybe because they just want to approach someone and just want to sit an investor down and just have a shot at pitching to them. But what typically that makes it is this, it's slightly a waste of time if it's not the right fit. But founders, being founders, they are hustlers, so they will typically just do it anyway. They don't think so much. So that's the first thing. You do need to know who you're talking to. Second thing is you need to know how they evaluate companies and evaluate deals. So you need to know what their typical next step is. You need to know how their style is. Some people need to know you for 3 months before they will invest in you, which means you need to meet them way earlier than you think. So that again is from research and talking to people who have met them, or talking to founders who they have funded before, just to get a feel.
So do you think that startups that get a lot of media attention actually creating disruptive products?
Not necessarily. I think really disruptive things takes a long time to build. Right? It's not just the first idea. It's usually multiple ideas mashed into one. It's usually the ideas moving as you learn. It could be you're too early. It could be people don't get what you do, because sometimes if it's too disruptive, you need to educate a bit more, which means your time to market is longer than you think, because people just don't know what you do, or there's no category for you, right? So if you're disrupting something, you are creating something. You're creating a market. So it takes a while. So PR doesn't mean anything. Literally, I don't believe in it. But it does drive awareness. It does drive. Hopefully the target market to you, so that you can improve on your idea, right? So it's not the end. It's not the end of it. You have to still work on it and keep pushing it.
If I were to seek for advice as a Malaysian entrepreneur, and I would like to look for funding, how would you advise a Malaysian entrepreneur whether or not you would advise him or her to come over to Singapore and look for regional funding? What would your advice be?
The first thing is, my advice, if you want to raise a lot of money, or if you want to raise substantial equity, or you're giving away substantial equity, first thing is make sure that there is a market big enough for what you build. And you have to prove it out. So there's no, unless you're in biotech, biomedical, that's different, right? You need to raise a lot of money to prove it out. But if you're in consumer tech, you're in consumer internet, mobile, or games, you should be able to do it yourself via grants, via bootstrapping, via your own savings, to push it as far as you can, to show that the market is this big, and there are people paying me, and I'm growing like this much every week, every month. And the reason is very simple, actually. If you don't have that, it's sort of not responsible that you ask for money, right? Because you're telling people, this is my dream, but I have no proof, right? It's pretty irresponsible, actually. It's also pretty irresponsible to hire people, right? Say, oh, I will be fine, but there's no proof. Work for me, right? So I would, advise startup founders, please push as far as you can, such that you deep down believe that there is something here. And when you feel it in here, it's much easier to convince people to join you, people to invest in you, people to partner you, etc. Because there is traction. You're solving a real problem. People are actually using it. People are actually paying you for it. People actually care enough to email you stuff that, oh, this is breaking down, this link is not working. So I would say, just keep it, raise money as late as you can. Right? That's the typical advice.
And lastly, to conclude our discussion before we end this episode, we have seen in recent years a lot of emerging ecosystem. Like basically we see Silicon Valley, and we know that in Europe we have Berlin, and then Israel is coming up as well. What is the Southeast Asia advantage? If we want to look at our ecosystem as a whole, different countries come together. How can we stand out comparing to different ecosystems in the world?
Southeast Asia has our own kind of style of operating. I think our advantage here is we are majority emerging countries. Right? Singapore is the only anomaly where we are the developed nation. So we sit almost in between, like in the center of everyone else that is developing. But I get a sense that everywhere I go in Southeast Asia, people tend to have traveled everywhere in Southeast Asia before, and terms are pretty, we are pretty friendly with each other, and usually for entrepreneurs who think bigger than their own markets, they tend to want to, their next market, it tends to be in another Southeast Asian market. They don't think too far. They don't think India. They don't think China very often. They don't think Japan, Korea. So I think that means a few things. That means, we have been pretty cohesive for many years. So the only thing that is stopping us to be a real cohesive power is just language and culture, right? But the real advantage of us is very simple. We are emerging market, so we understand almost other emerging markets, so including India or South America, and emerging market founders tend to be more of a hustler type of character. So they tend to get things done. They tend to not ask for permission, and that's typically a trait that is good for an entrepreneur, because that's how you survive. There's no other way, right? So that is a good trait to have.
So that was the discussion that we have with Jeffrey Paine, the founding partner of Golden Gate Ventures. To conclude this, basically, right now it is an exciting times for people to start a company. Technology is there, the tools are there, and if you're interested, you can basically learn and start coding. Well, of course, the challenges are there, but at the same time, it's very interesting as well. So once again, we'd like to say thank you to Jeffrey for joining us on the show. It was a pleasure to discuss and have a little chat with you. So look forward to more discussion. Probably the next time when you are in KL, then you can join us on our studio.
Sure.
So thank you. This was Agenda Awani. You were with me, Cherish Liao. So thank you once again. See you next time.